People are always asking me what's important in your home purchase process. Okay, so probably the most important thing, other than, writing a strong enough contract to win, is how to function during the inspection period. And there's a lot of pressure to waive remediations, but regardless, there are 5 inspection items that have to be done, in my personal opinion. And today I'm going to tell you why. My name is Nancy Chu. I am a realtor here in Northern New Jersey, and in my 19 years, I have sold over $500 million of real estate. Okay, item number 1. This is an absolute must, especially if you are purchasing a property here in New Jersey. A lot of our homes are a little bit older, and we have homes that are hundreds of years old, to be honest. So these are things that are super important to look at. And the first thing is going to be your wood destroying insect report. That's going to be looking for termites, carpenter bees, carpenter ants, wood boring beetles, things like that. A clear wood destroying insect report is actually really important for you getting your mortgage. A lot of mortgage companies will ask to see a clear WDI report, and you cannot get your mortgage unless you show them one. So that is one inspection that I will never give up, and I will always ask the seller to remediate regardless. Number 2, a tank sweep. So a tank sweep is basically a situation where someone who is certified in doing this takes a very large metal detector and sweeps the property that you're purchasing. This is important because a lot of the homes that we see now may have been built over, say, previous land on which there was a farmhouse. And before, many, many years ago, people were allowed to take their fuel tanks for oil that they would use oil to heat their homes, and they would bury these tanks underground. And then when they decided they were done with the tank, they would often just abandon the tank. So I would tell you that 1 out of every 10 tank sweeps does result in some sort of abnormal reading. So my instinct is that yes, you never walk away from the tank sweep, because I never want to be responsible for having to deal with an underground fuel storage tank that could have been leaking for years. Whether it's been abandoned or whether it's been properly decommissioned, doesn't matter. You never know with these things. So I definitely want to do the tank sweep, and I want to make sure the seller is responsible for that. Number 3, a sewer scope. The big joke that I have for the sewer scope is it's like giving a house a colonoscopy. You're basically sending a camera down through the house so that you're looking at the condition of the sewer line from the house all the way to the street where it hits the town sewer. That is super important to me, because you would be surprised. Some of these structures are really, really old and somewhat original. They can be made of, some of the newer ones are made of PVC, and that's wonderful. But there are some that are made of cast and have been in the ground forever. We've seen, even ceramic. That could mean that you've got tree roots growing through it. You could have cracks in the line, settlement in the line, breaks in the line. And, the last thing you want is for you to have, 17 people over to your house for Thanksgiving, and they're all using the bathroom. And all of a sudden, because there's a blockage in the line, all that stuff comes right back up. You don't want that to happen. So a sewer scope is very important. Number 4, knob and tube. Okay, that is an old form of electrics within a home. And I was going to say, if you ever see them, they look like these little tubes that sort of, attach to various parts of your roof line, or maybe you'll see them in the joists in your basement. And it is just an old form of electrics that don't really, they're really hard to insure, to be honest, like at this point. And this is not to say that we don't find live knob and tube in homes. We do. They've been working forever and ever, and they've been, some of them have been working actively for decades, but that doesn't mean that it is a good thing for your home and should at this point be removed, and modern electrics should be put in. Last but not least, number 5, and for me, that is radon. Okay. Radon is a colorless, odorless gas. It doesn't really do a whole heck of a lot if it's, just floating around in the air, which it does. But it comes from the breakdown of radioactive material within the ground. And so what happens is, as it breaks down in the ground, radon sort of comes up out of the ground. And sometimes, especially if your house is really well insulated, that's actually the biggest challenge. If your house is really well insulated, it might get trapped, especially in your basement. And there have been studies that have proven that radon does cause long-term, health concerns, cancers, etc. And especially if you live in a very rocky part of the state, a lot of those rocks that are in the ground, the granite, that is what breaks down and produces radon readings. Okay, so it's very important to have a radon inspection to see what levels, and there's levels that are acceptable and then levels that are not. And of course, if I find it, I would prefer my seller to put in a radon remediation system, which is essentially a fan that sort of blows radon out of your house. Okay. All right, so these are the things that I think should not be let go of. This is not to say that you might not choose to take on the cost of this yourself. But regardless of whether you choose to remediate yourself or ask the seller to remediate, there are certainly things that you should not give up on the inspection. You must do this inspection, even if it's for your informational purposes only. All right, guys, thank you so much. Please, 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 if you find our videos are of use, like, comment, subscribe so that we can continue to reach more people with hopefully information that they can use as they continue in their real estate journey in life and hopefully with us. All right, talk to you guys next week.